Now, the part you all have been waiting like crazy. The game optimization and trick for Linux Mint for having your game running at the highest FPS and the lowest latency possible. So before we start, I'm just gonna tell you a little bit what we're gonna do. I think it's gonna be a pretty long video. We're gonna go through the process together and I'm gonna show you at the end the difference. So first, we're gonna be really focusing on the system itself, the driver, the different settings you need to play with inside Linux. Then we're gonna be talking about third-party application you can use to, have a better experience, have overall like higher FPS and also like lower latency, but also application to give you a nice little graph when you play on your screen to see your FPS, this type of thing. Then I'm gonna be talking about how to install the games in general and give you some tips and tricks to make the process super easy. I believe like we won't be using the terminal. We might have to use it like 2 times, but it's gonna be super easy. Everything will be run through the GUI, and the last one is gonna be a surprise. Okay? So watch until the end. Let's do it. All right, so we are on our fresh Linux Mint install, and I'm gonna start right off the bat, like the most common error that all the gamers do when they have a new screen, a new monitor, they forget to change the refresh rate. So make sure you have the highest refresh rate possible selected here. So the way to get there is super easy. Right click, display settings, and boom, you choose the highest refresh rate. So my actual monitor is 270 Hz, but because I go through the capture card in my second PC here to give you the full experience, I'm limited at 140 Hz. But this is the maximum, so I'm gonna always go to the max. And you should do the same. Now, the Nvidia driver settings. How to get there? You go on the menu, bottom right, you type Nvidia driver settings, and it should give it to you. That's the first way to go there. For me, the easiest way. Otherwise, you go into administration here and Nvidia X server settings. When you are here, you're gonna have the version of your driver, and you should see your graphic card. Normally, like it shouldn't be a problem. So here I'm running a 4090 RTX. As you can see, the driver here, they are not the latest. And I think we should talk about that before we go into the settings. If you look at the NVIDIA page here and the release of the driver, you see there is a more recent one, the 535.98, which was released 8 years, not 8 years, what am I saying? 8 days ago. And we are the 16th of August there, and this is the 8th. So if you were into a rolling release like Arch, you will have them the same day. But here, it's this type of release will kind of like digest all the bug and all the issue and then decide to push the update or not. And there is a lot on Reddit right now of people who try to go away, because you can still like install them no matter what, but who had like some issue related to the driver when they had multiple monitors. And I had this issue, to be fair. So if you're a beginner, don't think you are missing out because you don't have the latest driver. Just forget about them. Obviously, those ones are gonna fix some bugs, etc., but they can always bring more. It's the same on Windows. Like if you are in the Nvidia business for a long time, I'm pretty sure you know that some of those newest drivers, sometimes they will tank your performance really hard. So my advice for you guys, if you are new to Linux, don't even bother. Just let it go. It should be all right. Now let's jump into the settings. So here is going to show you the overall configuration of your screen. If you have multiple screens, they're going to pop up here. I wouldn't advise to use this layout, display configuration to configure everything. The best way is still to do it in this one. Okay, so right click on the desktop, the display setting. It's just easier and you make everything less complex. But the main idea is like those two are interconnected. You can do it in both, but this one is just easier. In terms of option, I wouldn't activate any of those one here. You will just let it as it is. Don't touch any of those. I won't go in detail, but just don't do it. If you have multiple screens, what you can do here, you can select the screen you are using on your main. Again, automatic should be working, nothing to touch here. Here is this section is the most important in OpenGL settings. This sync to vBlank is gonna give you the go or not go for the VSync. If you click that, everything is gonna be VSync on your screen, no matter what. So my recommendation, if you're a competitive gamer, get rid of that. We don't want VSync. Now, if you have, for example, a GSync screen, the GSync option should pop up. So you should have here like 2 more lines saying like, do you want GSync, whatever, and GSync, I think it's GSync pop-up, which is gonna give you like some type of like pop-up when you play with the GSync. It's gonna pop up on your screen there. It's gonna be an indicator. If you want GSync to work, if I remember correctly, you need to have VSync, like sync to vBlank activated. One important thing at the time I'm talking and making this video right like now, if you have multiple display, you can't enable GSync on Linux. You can, but it's a little bit tricky. Maybe I should do a video about it. But long story short, it will only work if you have one screen up, not the other one. So I repeat, if you have GSync and you have multiple screens, you won't be able to enable it. The option will be there, but it will just not work. Even if all the screens are GSync, I have 3 GSync monitors here. They might change that in the future with a new display protocol, which is getting built for years now, called Wayland. But right now, it's not working. So you're going to lose GSync if you have multiple monitors. That's a drawback from Linux right now. Now, for the graphic, here we don't touch anything. Anti-aliasing, I don't touch anything. This, you don't care. Now it's going to show you like all the different settings for your graphic card, thermal setting. If you want to change the fan curve, it's here. I don't touch anything because it will use the one which are in the BIOS of my graphic card. We don't need to do anything. The power here, I do believe auto, it's working really well. You don't have to touch. If you want to get crazy, you can go maximum performance. But as you can see, like we are on the desktop right now, and my graphic clock is at 2,500 megahertz. I'm not sure it's worth it, to be fair. So auto is enough. I never had issue related to this. I will really encourage you to stay on that. ECC memory, I don't think you need that. This is the tab where you can control the different color. Yeah, nothing crazy here. And then you have the application profile here, nothing to touch. My opinion, the most important option here, sync to vBlank, we get rid of that. And here, make sure you don't have those 2 options actually like checked. The setting should be saved, if I remember correctly. Here we go. So the first thing you're going to notice is that your mouse is going to be acting really fast. The mouse acceleration is enabled by default in Linux Mint, and it can be a pain to disable it, to be fair. So I'm going to help you. So obviously, if you're a competitive gamer, you want to get rid of any type of acceleration. And I'm going to show you the way to do it. So obviously, we're going to start with a wiki. And this is a wiki from Arch Linux. Super clear here. Just want to make sure my camera is not blocking. So we're going to remove the camera. Like that, you're going to have the full experience here. Okay. I won't go through all the detail, but the idea is like we want to list the different peripheral. And after doing that, what we want to do is check if we successfully disable the mouse acceleration. So first, we're going to list them. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger here. Yeah, I think it's big enough for you guys. So here is my mouse right now. There is like 2 more there. I don't want to talk about it. I have a problem. But the one connected right now is this baby. I have no shame about it. I love mouse. Yes. So this is the number 11. Okay, so here it's written, if you want to see all the detail, you need to check the number. So X input list props 11. And you can tell right away if you go there, there is an exile acceleration profile available and it's enabled here, 1, 0. For it to be disabled, it needs to be 0, 1. So let me show you. If you want to check on the whole system, if it's disabled or enabled, you need to copy and paste this command here. Check. It's official. All my mouse input have mouse acceleration, and I can feel it. Like this is going way too fast for me. So how do we solve that? If you go in the wiki, you have disabling mouse acceleration, and you have two options. I will go with the one written with lib input. They tell you here that you need to create a file in this folder. But after making some research, I noticed it doesn't need to be in this folder. It needs to be another one. Let me clear that. You need to be root. We're gonna type sudo to make sure we are root, then nano, and then we're gonna go in user share x11 xorg.conf, and then I'm gonna create this file. Because I noticed that most of the configuration file in Linux Mint, they were in this folder. Or maybe there is a difference between Arch and Mint, the way they work in terms of like configuration, where they put their configuration file. So I'm gonna just follow the Mint way. I'm gonna type my password. Woohoo! And now I'm in it. I'm gonna copy and paste this part. Up, it's passed. So now for saving with nano, Control O, enter, Control X, and you are out. And normally the file should be there. So to make sure it's there, I'm gonna do a cat, which is gonna show the what is containing in the file. So I'm gonna do that. Up, xorg, blah blah blah, 50, up. There we go, it's there. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna restart the whole like logging manager, and like that I'm gonna close all those windows. I'm gonna come back, like that we don't have to reboot the whole system. So the command for that is sudo service lightdm restart. Enter. Boom. We just nuke it. All right, I'm back. Type the password. And you notice that the mouse is still too fast for me. I can feel it. So let's see with our magic command if the lib input acceleration profile is still enabled. It is enabled. So you're gonna be our max. Like, how do we get out of it? Well, you go on the start menu, you type mouse and touchpad. And then here, you're gonna have pointer size and speed, and you're gonna have acceleration. You put constant. And now watch. When you type the same command, it's disabled. Okay, the acceleration profile is disabled. It's just disabled. So I know it's stupid, but this is how it works. So I'm even wondering if you can just put constant here. But it might be a constant acceleration, which we don't want. So what I'm gonna do now, because I'm kind of persistent, we're gonna check the property of my mouse right now, and we're gonna see that the accel profile is still available, and the accel profile is disabled here because it's 0, 1. All right, and you can see that the acceleration speed and the like here it's just equal to 0. So on paper, and I can feel it now, there is no acceleration at all. Wow. Okay, so another tweak which is super important, and I've proved in many videos on my channel, like you should really tweak it, is to disable the compositor while you are running any type of full script application like a video game. So the way to do it is pretty simple. You go down there, click on the start menu, go in preference, go down here and click on general. And here on the first line, you have compositor option, disable compositing for full screen windows. Boom, it's done. That's pretty easy, no? Oh my gosh, this is so hard to run Linux. As mentioned, I want to show you how much deactivating the compositor is important within Linux. So right now I'm running the game in Linux and I'm running at 330 FPS, 329, something like that. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna Alt Tab and I'm gonna go back to the system setting that I show you. Disable composting for full screen Windows. And I'm gonna disable this one, which means that now the compositor is enabled. And you will see the type of like FPS difference we're gonna have. Okay, so we lose a solid like 25 FPS. And the game is still smooth, but it's not as smooth. So obviously not everybody is gonna be able to notice that. But my recommendation is always to play with everything optimized to the maximum. You go back there, activate the disable composting for full screen Windows, and boom. Here we are. Back to 330, 31. See the difference? Yeah, and the game is way smoother. Way smoother on my screen. Easy dub. Now, this is optional, and I would not advise any beginner to start to play with that. But let's say you want to gain any type of like latency or you have any issue related to your hardware. I'm not talking about in this video because, for example, your hardware is too recent. You have the latest motherboard with latest little stuff on it. Because obviously, like, some people are going to watch this video in the future and I might not be able to cover the future issue. But something which is commonly do, and I do it on my main Arch operating system, is to make sure you have the latest optimized kernel running your device. Let me explain. If you go there in your update manager, you're going to have some preference here. And if you view, you're going to have also the Linux kernel. I'm going to click on this. Installing a new kernel can sometimes cause problems, especially if you are using proprietary drivers. So this is really important for you guys to understand that if it works for you, you don't need to install the kernel. But if it doesn't work, or if you want to try, you can do that. The good thing is, like, when you install new kernel, it doesn't delete the older one. So you are taking a risk, but it's not such a big risk. So we're going to continue here and do like me, like, don't read the warning. I'm kidding, read it. I just won't do it here. So this is the kernel that Linux Mint provide out of the box. Right now, I'm running this one, the 5.1579. So this is what they call like a LTS, long-term support kernel. And it has all the security, like, you know, patch and everything, but it doesn't have all the new optimization. And this is where you might need them. And also it's not customized to your system. We'll get there. So what I recommend here, without taking any risk, is jumping to the 6.2. That's pretty easy. So how do you do that? You click there, you see the latest one, you click on install. Are you sure you want to install? Yes. It's going to download it. So you type your password, obviously. It's going to download it, install it. This is what I would recommend to everyone. Now, if you want to gain this little like extra latency, and actually if you can feel it, if you are running some like of my buddies, all your game through VSync, don't even bother, okay? Don't even do that. Like, you don't need it. But if you are like, you know, CSGO competitor, Apex Legend, everything where every millisecond counts, I would really advise you to go there and go to the next step. And we're going to go to the next step. Okay, now the kernel is installed. So just for you to understand, you need to reboot to activate it. We'll do it together. I'm going to open a new terminal. I'm going to show you the actual kernel here. So this command, neofetch, is installed directly with all the package, and it shows you like the distribution logo here and all the different proprietary, like hardware and software you have installed on your PC. And you can see here I'm using, as mentioned, the kernel 5.15, and it's a generic kernel. Another really important point I want to mention to you guys is something called the max map count. So when we are talking about kernel, there is some variable you need to adjust for making sure all your game are compatible with your hardware. I don't know why they don't increase this variable by default in the current Linux kernel, because the variable itself is pretty low, but I would really advise you to do that. A lot of like new game will definitively crash if you don't use this variable. So I encounter this with Daisy, I encounter this with Hogwarts, you know, the latest like Harry Potter game. The game will just like give you a black screen, and it's just related to this little variable. So I'm going to show you how to update it. So like always, you go to the Arch wiki here. So you need to create a file in the etc/ systemctl.d. So we're gonna do that. You tap nano, sudo nano. We create the file here. Okay, I don't know why you didn't want to create it. It's all right. Up, it's gonna be empty. You copy and paste the variable here. Up, we save, get out, and now up, we reload everything. Are we good? Applying. So, oh, okay, permission denied. So I'm gonna do a sudo here, I guess. Okay, so you need to do sudo here. So sudo and then this command. Makes sense. And you can see here, applying, it's applied. You want to make sure like the variable has been correctly applied. You type cat/proc sys/vm/max_map count. And it should give you the big number. We just copy and paste there. So we're good to go. And I'm going to introduce you to the most, I would say both of the most, in my opinion, easiest kernel to install for all the Debian and Ubuntu based distro. There is one I really love. It's called Linux TKG, and I'm gonna make a full video about it, so don't forget to subscribe. In my opinion, the Linux TKG kernel is the best because it's the one that is the easiest to compile and easiest to, I would say, customize. It's really a beast of a kernel, but it's definitely not for the beginner. And it requires by itself a full video. So now, how do you install like the Gamemode kernel? So here it kind of explains everything related to the improvement and optimization you will go through. The idea is like depending on your hardware, you're gonna have to install a specific one. So me, I'm running AMD CPU Zen 3. You see, it's written here, AMD Ryzen 9 5950X. It's a Zen 3 family type of CPU. So I'm gonna have to install the x86-64-V3 version. If you have newer hardware, like the latest generation of AMD CPU, it's there. If you have older, you need to use the older version of it. So how do you do that? First, you need to register the PGP key. So it's a security feature. You go there, you copy that, you paste. So to pass, you have to click the middle mouse button. If you don't know how to do that, in Linux, it's not right click. Enter, you ask your password, yes. Boom, we added the key. Now we're gonna add the repository. So what it means that when you install the repository, each time there is an update on the repository side, it's gonna be upgraded. It's gonna be upgraded automatically. So you copy and paste. Boom, done. And now you need to install the kernel. So actually it's two-phase there. It's gonna update everything by taking into account the new repository you put there to check if the key has been accepted, and then it's gonna install the kernel. So here, depending on your version, this is the version you need to change at the end. Again, V2 for the oldest CPU, nothing at the end for the previous one. And you can see here you have the little box. You can choose. You have the main, you have the edge, you have the LTS, and you have the RT, which is real time. So for gaming, don't move further. I would go with the Gamemode X64V3. Okay, it's already the edge anyways. So I would go there. So we have it. But again, to be super clear, you just take this one and you copy paste it there. Up, enter. The installer is gonna ping the deb.zanmod.org and there is no error, so you are good. It's gonna add like all those different dependency and stuff. So here you say yes, we accept. It's gonna download them and install them. Okay, so now it's installed. You can tell like everything went well. You have no error message. Everything is okay. And you can see all here, like if you want to go deep into it, the different images which are installed on this PC. So we have the one we installed previously through the app. And here you have the one you just installed. So here we did install the Gamemode, but you have exactly the same way of installing the Liquorix kernel, which is another like version, different type of optimization of kernel. I prefer the Gamemode. You can go Liquorix. You can do whatever you want, to be fair. Here it's just one line to install. You can test them. Again, your call. I would say overall, if you want to go full custom, I would advise you to go with the Linux TKG version. All right, so now we're gonna reboot and we will see if everything works well. So go down, restart. Okay, PC is restarting. And as you can see here, there is different option. You have the normal one, and here you have advanced option for Cinnamon. And you can see that we have all our kernel installed here. And the one you want to selection is Gamemode. Because it's in the first position, we don't have to go through that. We just click on the first one at the top, and we should be starting on the Gamemode. So in case it doesn't work, well, it's pretty straightforward. What you need to do is just to, when the PC boots, go in the menu and choose the kernel that work for you. So we knew like the previous one was working. So let's say it crashed or something doesn't work properly. What you just need to do is like boot on the oldest one, fix it, and go back on the first one. But again, like what I'm showing you here is pretty straightforward. So I'm gonna start this terminal and see on what kernel we're running right now, and ta-doom! Ta-doom! We did it. Super easy. Now let's talk about the application. The first one I want to talk about, it's called Gamemode. And this software is a daemon, like libraries that help optimize the kernel value for your game and put it kind of like the priority ahead of anything else, which is pretty cool, and I really recommend any of you guys to use it. So just to double check, if you go on the software manager, make sure the application is installed. So you're gonna tap Gamemode and boom, it should be there. So at my surprise, it was pre-installed on the machine. So we are good to go with this. Really good job, Linux Mint. Now, another like quick application I want to talk about, it's called Mangohud. I really advise you to install it. It kind of gives you this type of graph on your computer. And man, like this is pretty fun if you want to show off your big FPS to your friend or yourself. I kind of like it. I would say like the alternative on Windows will be Riva Tuner. Anyways, you got it. So how do you install this baby? Whoa. Air Max from the future here. No gel, still looking good, and still using Linux Mint. I'm jumping here because I noticed that after recording all of this, I did reinstall everything, but I did reinstall everything the same way because of our friend Ubuntu here, which kind of like messed up this application called Mangohud. So I'm going to show you the correct way to install it right now. Like my little hairstyle change here, the whole desktop for Linux Mint changed. So I just want to show you that I'm still using Linux Mint while I'm recording this video because I'm doing a challenge with some of my buddies from Gaming Linux France. And I had to modify stuff because the way I like my desktop to look like is not really the way like you install it at the beginning, but it's kind of good for you guys to see how, how it is right now. I'm just saying. So we're still talking about this Mangohud here. And for Mangohud, if you use the software installer provided, you're going to have issue and you're going to encounter problem. It's related to the fact that Ubuntu doesn't really like Mangohud. So how do you fix that? I'm going to show you how to fix that. We're going to compile it. It's not hard at all. So an advice when you compile stuff, you go into your temp folder. So this folder, each time you reboot, it's kind of, everything is erased in it. So like that, you don't have to erase anything or everything, like you just go there. So we're gonna create a folder. I'll make it a little bit bigger, like that you can read. We're gonna make a folder called tuto. You can write it whatever you want. You go in it, and on paper, this folder should be totally empty. So you copy this line here. I'm gonna put the line in the description below. If it told you like you don't have Git installed, you install Git, and for installing Git, you do apt install Git. Simple as that. You should have this new folder here called Mangohud, so we're gonna go into it. And then when you are in it, you're gonna type this command here. build.sh space build. Up, and then it's gonna build everything for you. So depending on your CPU, it might be like kind of like a little bit longer than what's happening here, or even faster if you have better CPUs than me. But overall, it should be pretty fast. Up, it's done. So I'm gonna clear the screen again. You go with this command, same command, but install at the end. Up, installed. Just for science, you tap Mangohud, and yeah, you should have something. So it's correctly installed. So now we have Mangohud. Okay, so on paper, you can start any game using this command, and you're gonna have this nice little overlay on top of your game. It's pretty cool. Now let's move to the next one. This is Latency Flex, and what it is, this is the equivalent of Nvidia Reflex, but for every type of GPU you can think about on Linux. It's actually working. I tried it and played it with it a lot in Apex. I'm not using it anymore, but I could tell like the difference in terms of latency. I made a full video on how to install and how to use it within Steam and every other game. If you want to give it a try, I really advise you to go on the link below and watch the full tutorial. After installing all of this, we're going to focus on installing the launcher and understanding how to configure everything in a really easy way for you guys to play your games. So as always, we start with the software manager. And first thing we're going to do, we're going to install Steam. So Steam, you're going to have here a lot of options. And the one I would really recommend is the FlatHub one. So before we move on, we need to understand what is a FlatHub package. So the way it works is that everything is going to be containerized, and most of your games are going to be installed in a special way. So there is a way to install the game outside of the container, but we'll see that after. I think right now what we need to focus on is like make sure we use Flatpak to install Steam, because in my opinion, this is just the easiest way to get where we want to go. We're going to avoid all the dependency issue because everything comes inside this little container. Again, always when you install anything on your machine, like you can trust me, but you have to make sure you read the detail here. And as you can see, note to add a game library on another drive, first you need to grant the app access to it. So because it's containerized, you need to make sure you give access to the app to everything else. Another point, let's say you have a Windows library of Steam and you want to use it for not having to download everything again. I would say don't do it. Or even if you have a shared drive between Linux and Windows, for a simple reason, like the way Linux interacts with the NTFS partition, which are like the Windows type of partition, is not the best and is gonna generate error. So I know like a lot of users are trying to do that because they don't want to re-download everything, and I do understand where you are coming from. But you're gonna have crash and you're gonna have issue, and most of the time when you're gonna ask people on internet or you're gonna read posts, you won't understand why. And one of the main reasons is because you are doing this. So I'm telling you, don't do it. The game are going to break and not work properly. Let's install Steam. So you click install, accept. It's gonna download it. Now it's installed, let's launch it. Steam input device UDEV rules don't seem to be installed. If you experience issue with gamepad, consider installing Steam device package using your distribution package manager. Okay, so this is interesting. So how is it called? Steam devices. Okay, so let's see if we have that. Oh, here we go. Okay, I'm gonna close it. I'm gonna install this baby here. So I'm going to type Steam here, and I'm going to selection the Flatpak one here, because this is the one we did install. And boom, we don't have the error anymore. So I think we did it. So you need to install both of them, the Steam devices and the Steam one here. Okay, so now I'm going to hide my screen. I'm going to log in. This is my trolling account. So I don't have all my game on it. So the first thing you need to do there is go into settings. And you want to go to compatibility here and make sure you enable Steam for all title. It's going to ask you to restart. You click restart. Go back there, settings, compatibility, and then you should have this option here. Run over title with Proton Experimental. So this is the first important thing you need to go through. Like make sure you have this enabled. So the second one you want to go through is in the download section. You want to go down here and you have something called shader pre-caching. So this, in my opinion, is super important. You can decide to do it or not. It depends on the power of your PC and if you are patient enough to do it or not. Enable shader pre-caching. Yes, you need that enabled. This one allow background processing of Vulkan shader. It's really optional. It depends on the game you have. For example, I play Apex Legends, and if I validate that with my hardware, it will just run my PC into a loop compiling Vulkan shader for hours because there is a bug existing right now in Apex Legends. So what I would say, if you have a game which are not doing that, enable it. If you don't, disable it. Okay, like if you're playing, for example, Apex Legends. There is not a real answer of what to do here, but let's say you are doing something on your PC and then you launch Steam and now your PC is struggling, you can hear your fan going off and you can see your CPU usage is going crazy. Well, you know that the background processing of Vulkan shader is actually happening in the background. So when you start the game, any game, this service just stop working, so it won't impact your gaming experience. But let's say you have Steam on all the time, you want to make sure that this is not running your, desktop environment experience, because this thing, when it starts to actually cache and generate the shader, is going to be really, really resource intensive. Listen to me, don't forget to play with this one and see where you're at. I know personally, I don't do it. Now, super important. I'm gonna go in my library with all my game. So again, this is just a Smurf account here. We're gonna do Apex Legends. We're gonna install it. I'm gonna go through the whole process because there is really two important things you need to do. The first one, you need to make sure that you have anti-cheat enabled. So to do that, you type anti-cheat, and you're going to have this one popping in here. You have the Proton Easy Anti-Cheat Runtime, and this one is required for the game like Apex Legends. It's pretty easy. You click install. It's going to ask for the destination. I don't care about having an application shortcut. You install it. Normally, when you install Apex Legends, it should install it by itself, but sometimes it does not. Now you need to install the Proton Battle Eye runtime. So this is for the game using the over anti-cheat. It's called Battle Eye. You need to install it. Like that, you're sure you won't have any issue with both of those runtime. Because I've seen many users having issue trying to install and play a game and they just can't go through it. And mostly it's because they didn't install the anti-cheat. Now, you have all the different old version of Proton you can install here. One I really like is the experimental one. So we're going to download it, and I'm going to show you a trick here. Right-click, property, beta. The beta one is really good, because if you want to go to the bleeding edge, like the latest version of the Proton Experimental, this is the one you want to go through. So here I'm going to activate it. And you will see here, you're going to have Proton Experimental, but it's going to be the bleeding edge one, the latest of the latest one. So why would I recommend this one? What happens is if you buy a really recent game, there is a chance that it will be first compatible with the bleeding edge one. So I really encourage you to go and play with this one. Is that a requirement? No, because most of the good updates are going to be pushed in the experimental anyways, but at least here you have the latest one. So now we have the free one installed. We're going to move to the next step, which is installing the games. You click install. So this weird place is going to install the game is actually within the Flatpak environment. Don't be scared or anything. It's just where the Flatpak are actually located, and they are in a hidden folder in your home folder. So you click install. Okay, you accept. So now the game is installed. We set that up Game should be ready to start. I'm gonna just play and see what happens. So as you can see, it's installing everything, all the dependency, Windows dependency. So we had Microsoft DirectX, we had everything else. Woohoo! We have the sound, we have everything. Well, long story short, it's working. You don't have to do that much. FPS is super steady right now. There is no latency. I don't know what to say already. Not that hard after all, huh? So this is done. We have Steam up and running. Now let's install the other big one, Lutris. So again, we go on the software manager here, and you're gonna choose your Lutris, and you're gonna take this version, the FlatHub again. You install. It's gonna ask you, like always, you say yes. We're gonna press launch here. It's installed. And ta-da! Surprise! It's gonna work! Woohoo! Here we go. So here, like, two things I want to show you, and then we're gonna move to something else. So first thing is, like, what you want to do, you want to go to preference here. One, which is really important if you have a laptop, because I had so many people asking me why the game run on my integrated graphic card and not on my discrete card. Because most of the laptops, they have two graphic cards, the one which is within the CPU and the one which is called the discrete card, which is outside the CPU. And what you want to do here is go to this part and enable like prime render offload. And normally you should have more options there who ask you like, are you sure you want to use your discrete render, and you press yes. And most of the time you can even select it. Make sure you use that, super important. Another one, if you go on Wine here, you can manage the version. And from here, you can download the most popular version of Proton. I want to talk about this one, like the Glorious Egg Roll Proton, which is really good. So I show you an example. You just press download and boom, it's good. So after, when you want to install a game, you install the game and you make sure you selection this one. Or the one you want, right? Like it's pretty straightforward. Another piece of software I want to share with you is called ProtonUp-QT. This little wonderful GUI is going to help you selection and download all the latest version of Proton, like the custom one. And it's going to make your life really easier when it comes to upgrading everything. So you open your software manager again, and you tap ProtonUp. It's going to show up ProtonUp-QT. You type install, and you will see this thing is just so nice. I used to download everything manually and have to do, you know, go to GitHub and all the different places. And also, like, some of them I had to compile them. But now, with this beast, it goes so fast. So you just launch it, and here it detects right away what you have installed here. So you have like Steam and Lutris installed. And now you can add version. So it can detect that I have BattleEye, Easy Anti-Cheat installed. But let's say now I want to install the latest ProtonGE inside Steam. I just go there. So I'll show you again. I click on add version here, and boom, you can download all the latest version of ProtonGE like that. You click on install and it's going to download it. Listen, this software is insane. So I'm pretty sure most of you knew it, but I really like it. It kind of makes your life pretty easy. And if you want to go really like different, you could go with the ProtonUp-QT, for example, the daily compiled ProtonUp-QT. This one is actually awesome. So I'm going to install it too. I would say most of the time, just stick with ProtonGE. Glorious Egg Roll is doing an amazing job. And I would really recommend those versions. Okay, here we go. And now let's go with the Lutris Flatpak. Okay, and then you can upgrade everything here to the same way. You can add everything WineG related. You can add the latest version of DXVK. Obviously, this one is up to date, but you can go crazy with the Connect Wine Build Vanilla. Those ones are pretty nice to try too. So you do the same. Well, let's say I want to go Connect the 813, no problem. It is pretty straightforward. Let's go back to Steam. I'm going to show you how to activate them. So you go back to your settings here. You go in your compatibility tab, and here you can selection the one I just installed. So you have the latest TKG here, and the latest ProtonUp-QT. You can do it globally, like that all the games are going to work like that, or you can go directly to your Apex Legends here, forced to use a specific version of it. You go on the YouTube channel of this guy called Airmax. I heard he's doing a pretty good video about how to optimize Linux gaming. And then you go down there and you selection whether like how you want to launch like Apex Legends. We're gonna go with Gamemode run command novid high. And we're gonna go with this one because the game already has some type of like FPS performance checkers there. I don't want to add like too many like FPS counters there. So you go there, you right click on your game, Apex Legends, you go on the launch checksum and you copy paste that. One thing I like to do though is FPX underscore max 0, like that we're going to push the FPS to the max. Seems pretty clean here. And then for the compatibility, we're going to add, let's say the latest like ProtonUp-QT. So this game, when it's going to launch, is going to be using the latest ProtonUp-QT with a special command line, output, and also Gamemode run. So you press play there, and normally it should be working. Woohoo! So sometimes you have some shader compilation at the beginning. That's why I always start with the fire range. And here we are. 300 FPS locked in 1440p, dude. Simple as that, dude. Now, the last application I want to talk about, because this video starts to be really long, the application is called FlatSeal. And this one has been recommended by the Linux community, gaming Linux community I'm part of. It's a French gaming Linux community called GLF. We have like a lot of good discussion between like hardcore Linux users there. So FlatSeal is an application that gives you the opportunity to manage the permission between your Flatpak installation, like your container, and your operating system and hardware. So most of the time, most of the Flatpak applications, they are totally containerized inside their own. They don't have access to specific hardware on your system or specific part of your operating system. It's just made of security. But on the other hand, sometimes you need to change those security features. I will give you a straight example with Steam. If you have a directory with all your games installed, there is a high chance that the default installation of Steam won't have access to the specific directory. So what you need to do is like install FlatSeal, go in the option, give access to Steam to the specific directory you have all your game in, and you are good to go. So I won't be covering all of this in this video because it's a video on its own, but you got the idea. FlatSeal is a great piece of software. Another software I really want to share with you, and especially for all the gamers out there. You know what I'm talking about. The power of the RGB. You know that you need the power of the RGB to gain more FPS. More seriously, when it comes to managing the RGB, Linux has a pretty good software called OpenRGB. This software is open source. I'm pretty sure it's working also on Windows. Obviously, it might not work with all the devices, but with my devices here, all of them are totally usable. And I'm going to show it to you right away. So like always, you go in the software manager, open research there, you type OpenRGB, take the Flatpak version, you click on install, you launch. There, if I remember correctly, it's going to show you an error message. So this error message is pretty easy to fix. You click on this link here, and it's going to tell you download and install script. You click on that. Now you have it here in your download section. So you open a terminal, you go into your download, and you're going to see it here. OpenRGB udev install. Table. I'm going to see what it's doing. Wait. Let's see what this script is all about. Yeah, okay, so there is nothing bad there. We're going to make it executable chmod plus x OpenRGB. Then OpenRGB install. Then you type your password, and here we go, installed. So now we're gonna close this window. We're gonna close OpenRGB. We're gonna relaunch it, and we'll see if we still have the error. And voila, it found everything. So I have like two special like controller on my motherboard, and those one you can define like how long the LED stripe are. And here, as you can see, it detects everything. It even detects my mouse here. So the mouse, the motherboard, the graphic card, and this is all the RAM. So just to show you, because I'm not going to show you the PC. Like right now, the LED is red, and I think it's breathing, sorry. We're gonna change that. I'm gonna go there, put it in static, and set it to yellow. And here we go. Easy as that. So this thing is awesome because you can do profile, you can change the icon there, you can start it at login, you can do everything you want. Like really awesome. So I'm gonna set it in dark just for science. We're gonna relaunch it. Watch how cool it looks. This is pretty neat. Okay, that's it for this one. Next video is gonna be about all the content creation, how to install all the software you need to create content and to be super efficient at it within Linux. I am out. Bisous, bisous.